halls of West Virginia resound with the sound of gold and blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 50, the 10, the 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels feared to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Boot. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the gold and blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer, wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another live stream here on the Country Roads webcast, where we're going to provide a little coaching staff update as Zac Alley's hiring has become official. It's the first assistant hiring to be officially announced from the university, so we're going to go over the press release, talk a little bit about that, and then we've got a transfer portal update, some transfer portal talk we're going to do here. We got some guys that are potential targets that have now entered the portal, and guys that are already, previously have been in the portal that are reported to be coming in on visits. We're going to talk about some of those and let you guys know who some of those guys are. Some of them we've already talked about. Some of them are names that have now popped up. So we'll do a transfer portal update and a little coaching staff update here on this December 29th live stream here on the CRW. And joining me to help do all that, of course, my co-host Steven. What's going on tonight, brother?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Another day and another piece of good news. So, got me feeling even more excited about Mountaineer football.
Yeah, man. I think something we both expected on last night's show was some Oklahoma players to hit the portal, and that happened today. So it's got me a little bit excited about some of those guys.
Me too, man. And there was, a couple others I think that were already in there and still uncommitted. So we'll see what happens. And we'll talk about that momentarily. And like I said, we got some guys that are coming on visits we got to bring up as well. But let's not bury the lead. Let's talk a little bit about Zac Alley, much like we did last night. But now, here we are 24 hours later, and the hire has now become official, announced by WVU. So we can share the press release and read through that here as it was announced by the university today. And you can find this press release announcing the hire, of course, on WVUsports.com. If I can find where I've got the tab of it here. There it is. All right. So from Mike Montoro, coming out about 4 o'clock today, or just after 4 o'clock, Rodriguez announces Alley as assistant head coach / defensive coordinator. So as it was shown in the thumbnail there, the official titles for Zac Alley will be, as you see listed here, assistant head coach / defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. So not only does he get the big contract, he gets the assistant head coach title to go along with the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach titles. And of course, we get the statements from Rodriguez on the hiring, and of course Zac Alley with his statement as well coming up. But first, with Coach Rod, this is what he had to say on the hiring of Zac Alley in the press release today. Zac is one of the top young defensive coordinators in the country, and has proven his ability to lead and be an innovator at different stops during his career. I've worked with him several seasons, and he constantly impresses me with his ability to blend schemes with his personnel and develop winning results. I look forward to him joining our staff and making an immediate impact for us. Alley rejoins Rodriguez after serving as the co-DC and linebackers coach at Oklahoma. Of course, he was with Rodriguez at Jack State and Louisiana Monroe prior to being at Oklahoma there. And then we get the statement from Zac Alley, kind of his first official statement that we've heard him make since the hiring became official. He states, "I'm excited to join Coach Rodriguez and the West Virginia University football program. I have tremendous respect for Coach Rod, as I've seen how he develops players and builds a program. I look forward to working with the players and doing my part to help WVU be one of the top teams in the Big 12 Conference and in the nation. And then we get, of course, some of the numbers here, which we've gone over some of these with you guys in the past, but still they stand out. So this is one that they chose to, share in the press release. So we'll go over them here yet again. At Oklahoma this past season, Alley helped lead the Sooners defense to the number 3 ranking in defensive touchdowns in the nation, number 5 in fumbles recovered in the nation, number 10 in team tackles for loss, number 11 in first down defense, number 19 in total defense, number 23 in rushing defense, and number 25 in sacks, and then number 30 in scoring defense. So top 30 in the nation, all of those categories. His first year at Oklahoma, all the Oklahoma, shows that I've heard talk about this have said that it was their best defense in 15 years nearly. A lot of people said
I was going to say, yeah, that's the most impressive part of all that part of that for me is what they were a year prior.
Yes.
So, to what those.
Well, and just traditionally,
right
if you think about Oklahoma, it's always been explosive offensive, but they really haven't ever had a good defense, even when they were dominating in the Big 12.
Well, so much so that, people that, kind of lost track of Oklahoma this past year really didn't see what their defense did because their team was so, bad overall because of their offense. But that defense, that defense was the number one reason they beat Alabama and held them to 3 points.
Yeah, which was impressive.
And they did that in more than a few games. Their offense just couldn't do what they needed to do.
Yeah. And he really turned things around there and gave them one of their best defenses they've had in a long time. And like I said, I know it's co-DC's, but he was the play caller. And a lot of people say, it was he was the one, kind of running the show for the most part there, despite there being a lot of extra voices, which is one of the reasons he may come to WVU is to have, full autonomy here at West Virginia. But nonetheless, really good job there at Oklahoma. And it's just consistent with what he's done over time, as we'll see here as we go through the press release, some other numbers here. But just talking about one of his linebackers at Oklahoma, because he is the linebackers coach as well, and he does work with the linebackers, and we'll be doing that at WVU, as we saw in his title there, which yet again is assistant head coach / defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. But one of Alley's standouts was Danny Stutzman, who I remember being a mainstay there at Oklahoma, but he was a consensus All-American after leading the Sooners with 110 tackles, including 44 solo stops, so nearly 9 tackles per game, and he had 8 TFLs on the season. So over 100 tackles and was a consensus All-American. I'm here under Zac Alley's tutelage in his 1 year there at Oklahoma. And then back at Jax State, Alley coordinated a Jacksonville State defense that ranked 33 out of 133 teams in scoring defense, 43 in total defense, and helped the Gamecocks to 9-4 record and 6-2 in the CUSA. Of course, they won a bowl game as well. Jax State ranked 4th in the country in 2023 in opponents' yards per rush, 8th in tackles for loss yardage, 9th in turnovers gained, 10th in interceptions, 12th in opponents' yards per play, 13th in sacks per game, and 15th in rushing defense. And then, of course, Alley was the youngest defensive coordinator in Division I when he took over at ULM in 2021 when he was just 27 years old, when he was then on the 30 for 30 list. He joined the Warhawks after they were 0-10 the season before and helped them to 4 victories under his direction. The Warhawks improved in every defensive statistical category from the previous season, including going number 1 from 125th in rush defense all the way up to 69th in his 1 year there. Before he was at ULM, he spent some time at Boise State as the co-special teams coordinator and outside linebackers coach. Prior to that, he was mainly at Clemson, where he was there as a student assistant and then graduate assistant, hence his time working with Brent Venables, which is how he was at Oklahoma. But I found this interesting. I didn't know, which was funny for me because you guys know I don't follow NFL much, but I am a Panthers fan. I do choose to watch them when I do watch the NFL. It's always been my favorite team. But he was in a coaching internship with the Panthers back in 2017, where he assisted with the linebackers in the NFL. So even a little, cup of coffee in the NFL as far as coaching experience with an internship there. But he's been – and it's so crazy to see, this kind of long history of, success and long history of different places he's been at in such a short period. Because we got to remember, guys, he's only 30, just about to turn 31 years old. So younger than me, Steven, and probably most of you watching the show here as well. So crazy to see all this in just that short time span, Steven.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But that also points to the fact that he's probably going to be a head coach a lot sooner than later, especially, at the high level that he's coached thus far in his career. You got to believe that he's going to be a head coach at some point soon. That wouldn't be surprising. This, the assistant head coaching title that they're giving him is huge. Moving forward to something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he, hopefully in 85 years moves on from us and takes that role.
Or, I mean, could he be?
It'll be soon. It'll be soon.
Or
It'll be
would it
probably
be,
3
you
or
know,
4 years.
maybe here even? You know, that's something that a lot of people have talked about. Could he be the next
Well,
one here? You know, I don't know if
Yeah,
he'll
but
be
you're
here
gonna wait
long
5
enough to be
years
that.
on
But
minimum. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's the thing, because I'm hoping Rich Rod's got at least, you know, another decade left in him, and I definitely don't think he'd be around that long. So maybe not, unless he was to say go somewhere else and then maybe come back. But you never know. But I do agree he's on that fast track to being a head coach in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been a phenomenal coach at every stop that he's been at, and I mean, it doesn't matter the level of competition that he's faced. You know, going to Oklahoma in the SEC, that's no easy feat to turn a defense around going into a new conference like that. So I mean, there's a lot of a lot of different ways you could look at that are impressive in their own way, I guess. But I don't know. I would like for him to eventually be a coach here, but at the same time, I mean, like I said 5 years because that's what Rich Rod's contract is right now. But you know, hopefully he coaches longer than that. But if you're a coach that's on a fast track like that, you're not gonna wait that long to be a head coach. If you've got other schools calling and offering that money, because the money just keeps growing every year.
That's true. That's very true. So, you know, we've obviously been super excited about this hire and very ecstatic that it's now official. And just to wrap up the press release here, you know, as far as his history of what he did as a student, he graduated from Clemson, where we did say he went on to be a student assistant and a graduate assistant. He earned his bachelor's degree in business management there in 2014 and his master's degree there in 2017. So relatively young, but a lot of experience in that young, short time span and success at every stop that he's been at, including most recently in the SEC at Oklahoma, as we've talked about now in this stop and the previous, this show and the previous live stream we did last night as well. So Zac Alley, an absolute home run. And as Steven said, they're getting the assistant head coach title is big as well, I think. Also,
he was a GA at Clemson while they were playing for those national championships in the playoffs,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's got to count for something in terms of, I guess, what you could call championship DNA. Or, you know, at least the experience of being there and know what it takes, you know, being around a locker room of guys like that. That's what I'm most impressed about, you know, with this coaching staff that we've been able to form so far is, you know, we've got a lot of winning resumes on there, you know, with a lot of impressive wins. It's not just lower level football that they're winning at. They've proved themselves at the highest level of college football and power conference. So,
no, indeed.
That's
100% they have. Super exciting indeed, man. And we got a lot of exciting things to talk about here throughout the show. Just wanted to lead it off with the official press release there. Now that we know at least one assistant coach hire that's now official, we can confirm 100% Zac Alley is on board. All the others are just reported until they get that official press release from the university, but those are going to start coming out. I'd say most likely tomorrow you'll start seeing more of those. We'll see what happens, but they're definitely going to come out this week now that you've locked down Zac Alley, and we'll talk just a couple more things on Zac Alley momentarily, but want to remind you guys that are in here live. If you got any thoughts there, throw them in the chat. We'll try and touch on some of your all's comments throughout. Won't be able to get to all of them. We got, you know, nearly 200 people in here right now, and all of you guys in here, it's kind of hard to get to all the comments, but if you send it a super chat, it highlights it. We'll pull up all of those, and we'll try and get to as many comments from channel members here as well as we can. But if you are in here live or on a playback, just be sure to hit that thumbs up button. That, you know, just taking a quick second to doing that really helps us a ton and helps this video find more Mountaineer football fans like yourself. And if you are a Mountaineer football fan, that's probably why you're here, I suspect. And you're probably interested in the coaching staff. You're interested in the transfers West Virginia might bring in. And what I can tell you is we'll be covering both those things throughout this offseason. So be sure you also hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and you'll keep it locked in here with us, and you'll get those videos straight to your feed. You can keep up to date on the coaching staff when it's officially announced and transfers as they come in. And we'll continue to talk about that here throughout the stream as well. Appreciate all you guys that are in here live with us. But I wanted to, of course, share Zac Alley making the change to his official Twitter there as well. I mean, that's, nice. Of course, big. You get the official announcement, then you get the change to his social media, and you see there the official title, assistant head coach / coordinator and linebackers.
I can only imagine the comments that are under that, under all of those things.
Oh, right? Yeah.
I'm telling you what, the Oklahoma fans have been absolutely pissed about this. I mean, they're
salty.
A lot of them are calling for Brent Venables' head. A lot of them that weren't already are now on that side of the fence because they just can't believe that, you know, the big bad Oklahoma lost a coach to little old West Virginia.
Yep. But it happened, and I'll tell you what, they're salty too. It tastes wonderful.
Yeah. Yes, sir. May not be able to play him anymore, but, you know, these small victories, they count for something.
We'll take them when we can get it. I think I saw a tweet. I wish I had it pulled up so I could reference exactly who said it, but it was like we had to endure shit talk from Oklahoma Sooners fans for so many years. Thank you, Ren Baker and Rich Rodriguez.
Yeah, no doubt.
Finally giving
no
us,
doubt, man.
one over them.
No doubt. It seems like Rich Rod's the only one that could put a team together to beat Oklahoma in any way possible.
Yeah, ain't that right? But nonetheless, let's the last a couple other things I want to talk about here with the coaching news, other than the official announcement, was something about some of the rumored candidates, the reported candidates that we've talked to you guys about. One of those being Michael Nicewander, who we knew was supposed to come over from Jacksonville State and coach tight ends. And although we didn't get the official announcement from the university today, I figured that it might be coming once he puts this out on social media. But I think that this is why it's definitely, your sign, if you're reading the tea leaves, that these official announcements are coming down probably starting tomorrow and definitely throughout this upcoming week. As Michael Nicewander officially, comes out and confirms that this is the first time he's actually came out and said it himself, as he put on social media today, which if you guys want to follow him, it's at Nice and Easy right here. His Twitter will soon be switched over to more WVU centric stuff once his hire becomes officially announced by the university. But he says, 2 of the best seasons of my life. Thank you, Jack State, for welcoming my family and for all the memories you gave us. It was an absolute honor and privilege to coach the Jacksonville State slots and tight ends. Excited for our next chapter in almost heaven, West Virginia, #Hard Edge. So, there's the confirmation from the man himself. So, if you were wondering if any of these, reported hires were all real, I think that there's your proof in the pudding right there that they indeed are. And they'll official announcements will be coming down on these others soon. And speaking of another hire that has been pretty much official, of course, Cole Dial. And he says, so pumped for the staff. We're putting together big things ahead, #Hard Edge. So there's official announcements coming down the line over these next, probably 24 to 48 hours, I'd say.
Yeah. I've got the coaching staff list as of today. Got quarterback coaches Red Rodriguez, running back coach Chad Scott, wide receiver coach is Ryan Garrett. It says IR Blaine Stewart.
Inside receivers. That's what. I think I saw somebody share that on Twitter as well, and because that's the first time I saw that breaking down, I was like, oh, wow, that's probably how they're going to split it up. Because I knew, Blaine had worked with receivers and tight ends, knew Garrett was with receivers, and Nicewander was with tight ends. So I'm like, how are they going to split that up? But it looks like it's going to be Ryan Garrett with wide receivers, Blaine Stewart inside receivers, and Nicewander with the tight ends potentially.
Right. And this is from Jeffrey Cobb on Twitter, by the way, is where this source is coming from. Offensive line coach, obviously Jack McNeil. We talked about that. Zac Alley, defensive coordinator, inside linebackers. Defensive line, William Green. This is outside linebackers, Jeff Castile. That's interesting.
So he might be the outside
shared
linebacker
role. Okay, I like that. I don't mind that at all.
I'd like it if that's the way they end up going.
I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that Jeff Castile, I would prefer. I know I said last night that I would think that he would take an analyst role, but that was just the probability factor for me on the coaches that we've been hiring, the positions that were left.
Well, especially if we were bringing in Jeremiah Johnson, which I'm a little bit starting to get a little bit more skeptical on if Jeremiah Johnson's coming too. I don't starting to think he may not be, which may open up the door for like Brandon Napoleon to come over from Jack State, which I would like to see.
Wouldn't mind that.
Yeah,
wouldn't mind that at all.
We'll see though. We'll see.
It's hard to tell what'll happen, but I'm sure that we'll hear within the next 2 to 3 days the official announcements on, or not official, but the reported.
Yes, Eric, that is the official title. We just shared that went through the press release. You might have just popped in, but yeah, his official title, Zac Alley's official title is assistant head coach / defensive coordinator and linebackers coach is the official title. Appreciate you as always, Eric. Appreciate everybody else hopping in here. Catch up on some comments real quick, man, and then we'll get to the other topics. We want to talk a lot about some transfer updates. That's one of the other main topics we want to talk about here because we're getting close to where that dead period is going to end here in the next about 2-3 days. And West Virginia can start having guys in on visits this first couple weeks of January, and they're going to do just that. And we got some visitors to talk about, and we got some potential targets to talk about. But Sean Murray, channel member here, says huge hire. He also loves watching the OU fans have a breakdown. It is great fun. I agree. Luke Bart, channel member, says hope all is well. Appreciate that, Luke. Always appreciate you, man. Trey, it's not official yet, but that's what's been rumored to this point. I'd say,
and nobody shut those rumors down.
Certainty. Yeah.
Right. Nobody shut them down to this point, and you would think that someone would at this point if it weren't going to be true.
If it wasn't going to be, the case. But I'm still interested to see who's going to get the OC title, because I know when it was reported that Chad Scott was being retained and 247 reported that they had said he was coming back as running backs coach and not as offensive coordinator, not having that title anymore. So I don't know who would have it then that's on the staff if it's not going to be him. Maybe that was the way they had things planned at the time because they thought they were going to bring somebody else in that they didn't end up bringing. So maybe they changed their mind and Chad Scott does get the offensive coordinator title again. We'll see what happens.
I think even if he does get the shared role is what I'll call it. I think, Rich is going to have.
Oh yeah, it's all Rich no matter what. So it's just kind of a formality pretty much.
Yeah. All format, which I wouldn't mind to see a kind of a meshed blend of what Chad Scott and Rich Rodriguez can do in terms of play calling. Because I didn't mind a lot of the latter portions of the bowl game, with Chad Scott.
Yeah,
calling those plays,
and he was using a little bit more up tempo and stuff, which obviously is going to be the style with Rich Rod, which I think will fit in well. I think he'll fit in well, here culturally more so than people realize, even though he's from the previous staff. I think he'll fit in well with the Rich Rod staff also.
I think so too. I was always a fan of Chad Scott. I like the relationships that he seemed to have with all the guys on the team. He's a really good guy off the field, but a great coach in my opinion. Indeed. I know it didn't seem like that at times this year, but
indeed,
gotta have the rest of them around you.
Kenny Evans says, thanks for the membership gift. Go WVU. Hey, yeah. Shout out to Big Dan T. He gifted them, I believe, in the last stream, and you were lucky enough to get one, man. So, hey, enjoy it while you got that gifted membership. Hop onto the channel and enjoy some of that members-only content. You got a ton of game rewatch commentaries, the whole 2023 season, and others, film reviews from every game of the 2024 season, player grades videos, snap counts, all kinds of stuff you can now enjoy with that gifted membership, Kenny, and hope you take all that in, and maybe it'll help you decide to stay around. And we appreciate all the members here. You guys help keep the mics recording and the cameras rolling. If you'd like to support us that way, you can hit the join button down below and get access to that extra WVU football content. Get that WVU football helmet beside your name like the others you see there in the chat. And we appreciate that support as well a ton. Really helps us, it's the catalyst keeping us going here. But like I said, the fast, easy, and free way, if you can't support us that way, you can support us in a free way just by hitting the thumbs up button and subscribing here to the channel. Let's see who else we got in here. Kenny asked any news on players coming with him as in regards to Zac Alley. That's a great segue, Kenny, into what we want to talk about next. So pull that up here momentarily, and then we will try and get you some more comments after that. But let's talk a little bit about some of those transfers, because one of those that may, potentially could be coming with him. We actually finally did get some news on that today. I know yesterday when we were talking about the Zac Alley news, we were saying, hey, maybe you'll see some Oklahoma players hit the portal. And if so, we'll talk about that here. And lo and behold, here we are a day later, and we get to talk about it, Stephen. Lewis Carter entering the transfer portal, 6 foot, 225-pound linebacker, had 30 tackles, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery in his couple years with Oklahoma. 2 years of eligibility remaining. So not a guy that had played a ton, but a guy that had a ton of potential. And you see here a tweet from an Oklahoma account that talks about how big this is. This is from Parker Toon, says, losing Lewis Carter to the portal hurts. It's a consequential departure for the Sooners. 4-star recruit, a guy that Brent Venables has opined was the best player in the state of Florida in the 2023 class. So this linebacker is really talented. West Virginia could potentially be after him now. You got to think with the timing of him entering after Zac Alley, is officially announced as WVU, then he hits the portal the day later, and he's the first Oklahoma player to hit since Zac Alley's left. So got to like West Virginia's chances to potentially get in on him,
Yeah, I kind of immediately when I seen that earlier, I was just like, okay, yep, here we go. Because linebacker is the one position that we really need too, because we're really depleted right there, especially if Trey Lathan decides not to come back. Losing Josiah really, really hurt. And correct me if I'm wrong, we lose Reed Carrico, is he still staying?
Reed's still staying. He's one of the only linebackers that is, him and Ben Cutter.
So. Yeah, him and Ben. So yeah, getting a guy like that would definitely be huge. Like you said, he didn't play much, but 30 tackles, man, in 2 years. I mean, you only got 24 games in 2 years.
Yeah.
So, 30 tackles is a lot if you're not playing a lot.
Yeah, especially if you're just a reserve player at the time.
Especially if you're not playing a lot. Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely need help at linebacker, so I'd be excited to see it there. And I got some more transfers to talk about. I see Chris Mitchell saying Cole Dial says assistant athletic director for football operations. Yes, sir. Did a video on him. I guess it was about a week ago now when he joined. He joined actually right around the same time as Chad Scott was announced as being retained. Cole Dial had joined the staff as well as assistant athletic director for football operations. But appreciate you hopping in, Chris, and chiming in there. But as far as other transfers, some news here that we saw. One that we talked about in our previous stream, William Whitlow Jr., that West Virginia had reached out to and offered from Memphis. He's planning to schedule a visit. So there's one potential visitor. And then we have another one here that looks like to be a potential visitor is Eastern Michigan linebacker transfer. We talked a little bit about needing linebackers there. James Joncom has visits set with Michigan State, West Virginia, and VPI. So there's some updates there on visitors. And then the other thing that I had here was unfortunately a negative piece of transfer portal news that was really disappointing. Scrolling through Twitter earlier, just on our high horse after the Zac Alley news, and felt like nothing could bring me down. And then see this pop up, and I'm like, kind of just hit me in the gut a little bit. I'm like, well, guess it can't all be good news, but hey, that's all right. We're still going to build a great roster here, despite the fact that Hoss Haney, who you guys know was one of my favorite targets remaining in the transfer portal, has decided to transfer to Oklahoma State, which is really kind of almost out of left field. Oklahoma State hadn't been reported as one of the teams that would contacted him or was high on his list. So really, working behind the scenes a little bit was Gundy to get this done. And you can see when people are counting Gundy out, like we always say, is when he does some of his best work, and sneaking and getting Hoss Haney could potentially really help them as they need to bounce back in a big way after they struggle this year. But getting Hoss Haney is a good start for them. Unfortunate for us, because I was liking to see him, come in and potentially be the backup to Nico that he could use in a reserve area some. But looks like we will be seeing him in the Big 12, but it just won't be at WVU.
He was determined to go in conference, it sounds like. I mean, that was from all of his options involved. But, I mean, you got to believe that there's still a little bit of money at Oklahoma State. So you got to believe after the year that they just had that, Mike Gundy's willing to pull out all the stops to get a guy that he likes. So not a bad player they're getting. So watch out for OKU or OSU next year. This OSU.
Yeah, Mike Gundy usually bounces back, especially after bad years. So for sure.
Yeah, I'm done betting on Mike Gundy. I know we've always said that we wouldn't bet it.
I know this year,
but I bet for the guy all season long, and he proved me that I shouldn't do that. So I picked them preseason to be my Big 12 champion, and they come out and was like, "Well, we're not going to win at all.
We're not going to do a damn thing this
Prove
year.
You wrong." It's all because of me. That's why.
Oh, that's funny. So shared some updates on some other guys that may be visiting, and throughout, multiple streams over the past few days, I've tried to update you guys on people that we've offered as I've seen the reports come out of their offer, or people that are visiting as reports of them visiting have come out. But today I finally got wise and said, you know what? I'm going to throw on the transfer portal tracker an upcoming visitors list of, reported upcoming visitors. So we'll know the group of guys that's going to be visiting over these next couple of weeks in January. And as more are added to this list, if more are, we'll throw them on here. But you can see a nice slew of guys here. We're talking, was that nine guys? I think, I don't know. I can't hardly count that high, but something like that. West Virginia having a nearly couple handfuls of guys here coming in on visits. We've talked about most of these and mentioned them on previous streams in the past. But if you haven't heard, kicker Ethan Head, West Virginia is after. From Tulane will be coming in on visit here sometime in January, in the next couple of weeks. So will safety Jordan Walker from Chattanooga, linebacker Marcus Watson Trent from Georgia Southern, who was the conference player of the year there in the Sun Belt, a defensive lineman from the JUCO ranks, and Adam Tomchek from Cerritos Community College, a wide receiver from Western Illinois, Matt Henry, the linebacker that we just shared the update on there, James Joncom, one of the newest additions. These bottom four here are the newest ones that I just saw that would be visiting WVU. Two of them we just talked about there, Joncom and Whitlow, and the other two were CJ Doggett from Ohio, and then Draylon Washington, a running back from Louisiana, who I hadn't realized was going to be visiting, but he's a reported upcoming visitor. And let me share this on him. Here's his profile on ESPN. Coming over from Louisiana, I think West Virginia obviously could use a guy with some experience there, as they only really have Jaheim White and redshirt freshman, true freshman behind him to this point. And at least you get a guy with experience here with Draylon Washington from Louisiana this past season, 73 carries, 480 yards, 5 touchdowns. 5'9", 224. Oh, you've watched him?
Well, I mean, like he was so the Louisiana played on a lot of those games that you know how they every year they have that 55-day span where it's like football every single day.
Oh yeah,
pro
for
or
like
college.
A long.
They have those.
There.
Yeah, they got those Tuesday and Wednesday slot games, and they played a lot on those those days, and I would watch him a lot on those. And he's good. He's shifty, and he's
I
quick.
agree. I like what I've seen about him. I haven't dove in on a ton of film, but I did see this, and I wanted to share this one here that I saw going around on Twitter. Draylon Washington, like I said, going to be visiting WVU in the next couple of weeks, running back from Louisiana, and here's a little clip of his game here.
Yeah, man, fast as hell.
Yeah, like you said, good shiftiness and good speed, getting out on the edge. On the toss play there. And if you're watching this on a playback, that might be cut out, copyright and stuff for the playback version. But hey, that's the benefit of being in here live when you can be. So, if you haven't, make sure you got that notification bell clicked so you know when we're live and you can watch this stuff live, because sometimes on the playback you got to cut stuff out for copyright issues. But nonetheless, I'll get a good look there at Draylon Washington, who's going to be visiting WVU, a running back there. And just in case you guys didn't get a good look, and pull it up one more time. The upcoming visitors list of guys that are going to be coming in once this dead period ends on January 1st. West Virginia will start having guys in that week and the next week, and these are the ones that have been reported thus far. Steven, any thoughts on any of the names here?
Obviously, just Draylon Washington. Talked about him in a little bit, but Ethan Head. I know he's a kicker, but that's somebody that we really truly want to get. He's got a boot.
Yeah. I think, and he's got 3 years of eligibility left, and I know that I've heard he's really being mainly targeted as a kickoff specialist, potentially even more so than the field goal kicker. Not saying he couldn't do both, but they really like him for a kickoff specialist a lot, I think.
Right. And then, obviously you're not going to have to use him as a punter because we still have Ollie Straw on campus. So, he's going to have the 2 roles if he does come in. But, I don't know. I've seen him in highlight videos or in like just his own videos or whatever. He's making 60 and 65-yard field goals. The kid, he's truly got which, that's what they're doing now. They're kicking. I wouldn't be surprised if they start kicking 70 and 80-yard field goals in a couple of years. I truly wouldn't with the way they're going now.
They could get there. I wouldn't be surprised either.
It sounds astronomical, but it's just, you see it every year how that record is always broken, it seems, every year, every couple of years.
That's true. You got a good point there. But we're in need of a kicker, so hopefully if we get him in on a visit, got a chance of, get him to commit. I think that's one thing you can say when you look at this list of names is potentially all of these guys. There are guys that could be on commitment watch if they do get to Morgantown. You always can't ever rule out them committing before they get to WVU. But once guys get on a visit to West Virginia, sometimes that's when they get blown away. That's the key, is getting them on campus there. And then that's how we get a lot of our commits. So be on the lookout here for these names. But as far as other transfer portal update I wanted to talk about besides upcoming visitors that'll be coming after the dead period was just landing spots for other Mountaineers that we've talked about. We've covered Will Dixon to Rhode Island, Crandall to Oregon State, Trotter to Missouri, and then on our most recent update, we covered Johnny Williams to Missouri, Remack to VT, Sully Weeben to UMass, and other than that, you've had Day Farmer to UCF, so we'll be facing him in conference, and of course, CJ Donaldson to Ohio State. So I wanted to share that from the transfer portal tracker. But the only other thing that I had as far as West Virginia potential roster news that I thought was interesting was this here. And this is KK Tarnu, sharing the shaking hands emoji of the official announcement of Zac Alley today that we, of course, covered at the beginning of the stream here. And why this is intriguing is because I know, as we pulled up the roster previously on a couple streams, and I've done a couple roster updates, and those will start coming more frequently in January. You may have noticed KK Tarnu's not on that roster. And the main reason being he was a senior last year, was believed he was going to be out of eligibility, but you also may remember he came over from Jacksonville State, so has experience with Zac Alley, Rich Rod. He's one of the couple players that came over from there, the other being Xavier Bosley, who will be on the roster. But the caveat here in all of this is the recent ruling by the in the court system there against the NCAA that doesn't allow JUCO years to count against players' eligibility. So KK Tarnu, if he wants, has an extra year of eligibility and could potentially return for one more year now if he wants to come back to WVU. So interesting to keep an eye on now. When I saw that and then saw some people talking about that, and I hadn't realized he'd played JUCO prior to that, but he could come back maybe.
That's very interesting. I did not realize. I seen that tweet, but I didn't realize that was a possible scenario. So that'd be pretty cool if it does happen, because he balled out in Zac Alley's system at Jacksonville State. I remember watching those highlights whenever he came to WVU. and thought that he was one of those ones that I thought that he would, make an immediate impact in that secondary, and that's why I was so high up on him.
Took a while
previously. Yeah, and it took a while, but he finally did come around.
You had to find the spot that he fit in, which was the spear position, which interestingly enough, Zac Alley has this position that's kind of similar to spear. I want to pull up and mention some things from his scheme. I think it's Andrew Corbett over on 247 Sports that did a great breakdown of part 1 of part 2 that he's going to do, kind of talking a little bit about Zac Alley's scheme towards the tail end of the stream. Try not let me forget, Stephen. I'll try and pull that up. I won't be able to share it because I think it's behind their paywall, but I'm going to just share some of the positions that we can expect to see in a Zac Alley defense. I just want to tell you guys about that a little bit and that's a great thing Andrew Corbett did. If you guys haven't checked that out, you're on 247. But watch out for KK Tarnu. And I also wanted to point out here, if you look at his bio, still says DB at West Virginia football. Hasn't taken that out yet. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Hey, man, if it's anything that we've learned throughout this whole entire month of December for West Virginia football is you cannot expect anything. I mean, everything's been out of left field pretty much.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. 100%. It's been expect the unexpected. West Virginia's been doing things that you never thought they would do or could do, and in positive ways though. So that's good to see at least. But as far as the other transfer update I had, as far as guys that have left WVU, saw some of their landing destinations there. But Aiden Garnes is one that hasn't decided yet, but he is going to, looks like he may have like a final 3 here, 3 schools he's visiting, and then he'll probably decide. You see a lot of these guys going to be visiting this second week of January because they want to make their decisions, get enrolled for the spring at their new destinations. That's why this is going to be a big time visit, next couple of weeks once the dead period ends in January. But Aiden Garnes visiting Arizona, so we could potentially have to face him in conference because he's visiting Arizona and Houston, and then he's also visiting UNLV. So I'm going to try and keep tabs on where the transfers outland as well. So I wanted to share that as Aiden Garnes visiting a couple Big 12 programs there as well. So
so lost all potential of getting him back next year, I think.
Yeah, looks like he's gone.
Still
for
waiting.
Sure.
Still on the opposite side of the ball, but I'm still waiting on some news about Hudson Clement. You would think that with the way that was on, that was going and that was on track, you would think you'd hear something by now.
I know. I was hoping. Man.
I mean, anything, and it's been nothing. So I don't know if that leads you to believe that it's further away from coming back to West Virginia or closer to that.
I hope closer, but
I hope closer as well.
It's too hard to call it, really.
Yeah, having a bunch of Martinsburg guys on WVU's football team, it really kind of negates what was the former belief that West Virginia wouldn't, or Rich Rod wouldn't recruit West Virginia players.
True.
So
true. Already is shaking that in his first handful of transfer commits.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you got to love to see it too, because the product of West Virginia high school football has definitely grown over the past 2 decades, in my opinion.
Oh, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I mean,
last 3 really, if you count Randy Moss and everything.
Well, I mean, just us where we're at here in Mercer County. You look, you've had Sean Martin and Dom Collins on the roster at the same time, and I can't remember, hardly ever, through all my years growing up, where we'd have, one player from Mercer County on the WVU football roster.
Well, we did. We had a few of them.
Then. But when they were, they would be like preferred walk-ons most of the time and stuff. And now we're getting scholarship guys coming out of our area.
I think Tanner Russell was the last scholarship guy that we had on roster at WVU from Princeton, which is where I went to high school.
And that was
Adam Hughes as a long snapper. 2000s. He was a walk-on. And then I think the only other one that I think West Virginia offered a scholarship to was Tyrone Gilliard, and he ended up going to play for that team up north at East Shit.
Yeah, those Ranthers, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the only ones that I can think of to my knowledge. Of course, that's, I don't know specifics on prior to that unless they were actually famous, because obviously I know Rod Thorne went to Princeton. He was the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, did his thing.
There's been some good players, I mean, and good sports athletes come out of our area.
I mean, more than a few. I mean, really, if you don't just count WVU athletes as well, I mean, you count the guys that went to Tech and Marshall and, just the athletes, baseball athletes as well. There's been a lot of guys come out of this area that went on to do big things. Ken Kendricks, we talk about him. He's a big, one of the biggest donors. He's from Princeton, and he's a half owner of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So, I mean,
yep,
there's potential in our little old state of West Virginia.
You never know what could happen. But speaking of potential, one of the last little things I wanted to pull up here in reference to Zac Alley, I got a couple more here, but one of the more interesting ones. It's Matrix Analytical, as far as Zac Alley, Rich Rod, this new regime at WVU. They've been really putting out some good stuff in regards to Coach Rod and WVU. So I'm going to shout out them here. They put this up earlier and they put up a quote tweet, which I thought was even better. But let me pull that up next. Let me put out the original tweet here, which is, how good was Coach Rodriguez's offense in 2024? Number 3 in Group of 5 scoring efficiency, and number 10 in all of the nation in scoring efficiency. Coupled with the progression over 2023, it was the second highest graded offense in the nation for 2024. But then if we look here, as far as them trying to sell some recruits here on WVU now, which shout out to Matrix Analytical for doing that here on social media. But they say if you are a recruit, his 2024 offense, which of course talking about his Jacksonville State offense, if he would have been at WVU with the numbers that he had at Jack State, it would have been the Big 12's number 1 scoring efficiency offense this past season. Even O-line can be excited as the new offensive line coach is one of the best graded veteran coaches for working in a high-pace offense. If speed excites you, engage now with WVU. So I thought that was pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be exciting if you're a WVU fan, because we've lulled people to sleep for, 6 years now?
Oh, gosh. It's been so
I mean, we can say all the negative things that we want to about Dana Holgorsen, but that offense was always fun to watch, and it was always fast-paced. And that was, always what it seemed to be the consistent for all of those years between Rich Rod all the way up till Dana Holgorsen.
True.
I think it's what made it so hard to watch for all of us, because we got so accustomed to seeing such fast-paced, no-huddle offenses that went out there and just put numbers up, and then, we go out there and try to win it with an analytics game.
Yeah. Didn't work out too well for us. As I said, the good thing is about Neil Brown is he left the program in a better place to where, passing the baton to Rich was easy and he's got a lot of stuff set up for him. But the bad thing was on game days, he was way worse than Dana. So, better in a lot of areas, but not at winning football games, which is what mattered most, and not at exciting football games either.
Yeah. Yeah. They, even the ones that were exciting, we lost. The ones that we won, they weren't very exciting games. They weren't nail biter games.
Yeah.
I mean, you can count, I guess, the Kansas game this year, but to be honest with you, if you were at that game like myself, it was just so upset and aggravated by that point. It was like, well, we finally did something.
Yeah.
Happy we won. But.
Finally.
Yeah.
But speaking of, we talked a little bit about Rich Rod and his success there at Jack State last year and how great that offense was. It would have been, number 1 in scoring efficiency, even in the Big 12, and was one of the top rushing offenses in the country. Their running back was number 3 in the nation in rushing yards. Their quarterback and running back were the first duo in NCAA history to have over 1,300 rushing yards each and 15 touchdowns. But as far as Rich Rod's experience with the new offensive line coach, Jack Bicknell, who we talked about a few streams ago, Skylar Callahan put this out, and I wanted to share this because I thought this was good. I look back at their 1 year together where they crossed paths was at Ole Miss when Rich Rod was the offensive coordinator and Jack Bicknell was the offensive line coach. So this is what we know about the last time that Rich Rod was the play caller and Jack Bicknell was in charge of his offensive line. And what happened the last time that was going on in 2019 at Ole Miss? Nothing but the 6th best rushing offense in all of college football, averaging 254.2 yards per game. So that's a positive sign, I think, as well. And shout out to Skylar Callahan for sharing that.
Yeah, no doubt. That's he always comes with some interesting tidbits of statistical information.
Yeah, completely agree. And then the last thing I want to share in regards to Zac Alley, besides I want to talk a little bit about that scheme and some of the positions that we can expect to see in his scheme, courtesy of 247 Sports. But got to share this from our friends over at WV Sports Now. I like when Mike Asti does these, when there's ever, a big piece of news, that affects WVU, he kind of gathers some of the bigger reactions throughout the fan base. And so he did that in regards to the Zac Alley hire, becoming official news or whatever. Coos with this good one.
Yeah, I loved that one. Yeah, that was awesome.
of that famous meme, but it's Rich Rod, Venables, and Zac Alley, of course. That was a good one. Ethan Bach said Oklahoma fans were very confident Alley wouldn't drop down to lowly West Virginia, kind of poking fun at Oklahoma for making fun of us, thinking it wouldn't happen.
Yep.
And then, of course, they got the Jed tweet, which we shared in the last stream, talking about it coming kind of full circle from the Orange Bowl to now for Zac Alley, who, of course, has ties to Clemson. The player's reaction tells this is a reaction from an Oklahoma fan here. The player's reaction to this tells me everything I need to know about Zac Alley. If you're not with us, you're against us. Hashtag boy boss. So there's one of the salty Oklahoma fans' reactions there. Here's another. Brent Venables brings Zac Alley to a blue blood program, hands him the keys to a ready-made defense, and a year in rewards that confidence by bolting to West Virginia. Cold. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't help but laugh sometimes.
I mean, they're so salty. It's just
Hey,
funny to watch.
Look at this one from Spage Enthusiast. Really sad to see smaller teams like Oklahoma lose their talented
Yeah, I've
assistants
seen
to
that
big
one.
schools like West Virginia.
And there's a reply under that, and someone, I think a West Virginia fan, gave him some hell, and he said, I'm a West Virginia fan, and this post is satirical in nature.
Yeah, like
You
obviously.
gotta
How do you
clarify
not?
nowadays.
That's what kills me sometimes. When somebody makes a clearly facetious, tongue-in-cheek post or
Right.
like something like that, and then somebody in the comments just taking it literally and like literally trying to argue with them. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's one thing you can count for on social media today is that there will always be a troll trying to get you somewhere, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Spot the Ball says Zac Alley leaving Oklahoma for WVU is a sign of how serious Coach Rod is about getting WVU back to national relevance. 100% agree there.
Yep. A lot of people think that Zac Alley's seen the quote unquote writing on the wall of Brent Venables at Oklahoma.
His
And
tenure there.
that it's a sinking ship out there, and you can have the best defense you want, but you ain't gonna have nothing if you don't have an offense, especially playing in the conference that you do.
Yeah, agree.
Not good enough to get anywhere.
Agreed.
You're learning what it feels like to be where you should be.
That's
y'all
right.
wanted to be in the SEC. Y'all wanted to go bolt and be big time, and you're learning you're not that big time.
Sometimes the grass ain't always greener, my friend, and Brent Venables may not be the guy. We'll see. And this is definitely his final year if he has a bad year again. So,
which I will admit is very shocking to myself because I
thought he'd do really good too.
I thought he would too. I did too.
Yeah, I really did. And then we have Drew Schifino, obviously former WVU basketball star. Brent Venables will be fired next season. It's a very smart decision by Zac Alley to bail early. Literally, kind of exactly what you were touching on there.
Yep.
And then some guy named Jordan from some place called the Country Roads Webcast. I don't know. That sounds like some show that no one should ever watch. It's probably terrible.
I don't know. I watch it sometimes, and that one dude, he's pretty cool.
This is I told you guys this is how I felt in the stream last night. I appreciate Mike for including my tweet in there for the CRW account. Quite frankly, I believe that Zac Alley may be the most impressive assistant hire in WVU football history. Also will likely be the richest contract for an assistant at WVU as well. And then Denny Saylor says, Zac Alley leaving, shaking my head. We are turning in Nebraska. I'm at a loss for words. One more year and hopefully he's gone. Great defensive mind. Sorry.
Someone posted that actually. They put it was like a torch passing, and it was Nebraska to Oklahoma.
The Nebraska of the SEC.
Here for it.
The Mainline podcast said Zac Alley spent a year with Venables and decided he'd rather take a step down in order to hitch his wagon to Rich Rod. Yikes. Barstool Sooner says, welcome to rock bottom.
Wow.
Man. That's good. And then, of course, one of the favorites was the Pat McAfee with the cheer there after the announcement from Pete Thamel, Ren Baker with the let's go flag. There's an analyst thinking it was insane, surprised by the hire.
I think my exact words of the group chat is "What is happening?" in all capital letters.
It was crazy because it was like right after the Castile news came out.
Yeah. It was a good day yesterday.
It was. TJ Eckert said you can look at Zac Alley leaving Oklahoma for West Virginia one of two ways. He wants full control as DC, runs the defense his way in a Rich Rod reunion for one, and then for two, sees the writing on the wall in Norman, future of the program under Venables, kind of what we talked about there momentarily. Then George Stoya from Oklahoma says, wow, this is shocking news. Alley said yesterday he was coming back and was told, are you expected to finalize a deal any day? Massive loss for the Sooners. And then Mike Asti, sharing his thoughts here, said having $5 million to spend on staff can lead to a big time hire, like stealing Zac Alley away from Oklahoma, and a big time. Talks a little bit about how much more of an investment it is than what Neil Brown previously had. As West Virginia has top of the line money in the Big 12 now to spend on a staff, and they're using it to get Zac Alley. But wanted to share that from WV Sports Now. Some fun stuff about the reactions, but any thoughts there, Stephen? I'm taking a swig of my coffee, get my mouth a little bit dry, and then we'll talk a little bit about the scheme of Zac Alley, and then other than that, probably just catch up on some comments, man.
I think it's just exciting to see how excited Mountaineer Nation is as a whole compared to just a couple of weeks ago, man. You know, I know that there was a lot of 50-50 on whether people wanted Rich Rod back, and I think for the most part, a lot of those people that were upset have come around to, to the idea more or less. But I think more so with these coaching hires that they've, shown that they're going to put that money in place to do things that they want to build something special with. I just think it's proven to a lot of fans that the administration is serious about this, and that's what's exciting. And like I keep mentioning, it really speaks volumes. When was the last time we as West Virginia football fans were this excited in December? I can't think of a time in the last 10 years. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I was about to say
maybe the Orange Bowl.
At least that for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just it's cool to have that back. I guess. I mean, that's the coolest part about it to me.
And it's literally like just to feed right into that what you're saying to go along with it, even as far as like for the show here for the channel. Like more excited every day to the point of like, what news is going to come out today that we can do a live stream to talk about tonight. We've been doing live streams every day, almost every other day, because it's just that much excitement there, that much to talk about with you guys. You guys are excited as well. You guys are tuning into the shows. Right. So, you sense it throughout the fan base.
I was going to mention that as well. I mean, like I was going to give a shout out to all you guys because normally this is more or less kind of our dead period with the podcasting world. I mean, we really are fighting for things to talk about. There's normally transfer portal news and coaching changing news and things like that. But I mean, like other than that, there's really kind of a dead period at this point in the year. I mean, it's been exciting. It's been exciting for hopefully you guys. I know it's been exciting for us to get on here and talk about it every single night.
Oh yeah.
But we've been growing a lot. So thank you guys.
Yeah. Shout out to you guys for that.
But I mean, it's just a microcosm of what's happening, I guess,
Yeah,
it just shows the excitement throughout the entire fan base.
Yeah, and you guys keep the subscriptions coming, keep tuning in, and we'll keep the content coming here. The live streams, pre-recorded videos, all of it. We'll keep it coming pretty much daily for you guys as it has been lately. But as far as what's going on in the chat here, Sean Murray with a great transition question here. Channel member Sean Murray asked, do you think we'll be running the 3-3-5 defense again, which transitioned me right into what I wanted to talk a little bit about. Like I said, I can't share it on the screen because it is from behind a paywall, but I do want to point out some tidbits from a great job here by Andrew Corbett over at 247 Sports, talking a little bit about Zac Alley's scheme, which does lean a little bit into a 3-3-5 and did more so at Jacksonville State, ran a bit more 4 down and kind of a bit more of a 4-2-5 look at Oklahoma. But as far as kind of his scheme and what we know about it from Andrew Corbett here, he says that Alley utilized the 3 down front with a base nickel corner and a hybrid edge / linebacker during his time at Jack State in the 3-3-5. But that changed when he made the jump to the SEC. He swapped the slot corner out for another hybrid / linebacker nickel position, which is called the cheetah. So essentially kind of like our spear. It's a hybrid linebacker / nickel, slot corner, they call it the cheetah in his scheme. And so you'll have that, and he played more 4 down. So essentially having, 2 edge rushers, 2 tackles. So essentially more of a 4-2-5 look when he was there at the SEC. So you can see a little bit of a hybrid between the two. I'd say sometimes maybe it'll look like a 3-3-5. Sometimes it'll look more 4-2-5, but we'll mix it up between 3 down and 4 down. It sounds like because against pass heavy teams, the 3 down front came back to light even at Oklahoma, it says here. And then as far as that position I was telling you guys about, that hybrid linebacker / slot corner position, it's going to be known as cheetah in this scheme.
It'll be fun to call it.
Yeah, that's a nice name, right? For sure. I like that. But as far as that position, Andrew Corbett says it's by far the most important and dynamic position on the team. That spot was how Alley got his personnel in place on a play-by-play basis, which was the foundation to the defensive success this year at Oklahoma. And the players that played that position, you can see kind of the way that they use them differently depending on what package you have in there, because the 3 players they used there were 2 different linebackers. One was 6'2", 236, and one was 6'5", 223. So, more linebacker bodies there, right? And then the other body that they used there was Woody Washington, who was a 5'11", 195-pound cornerback. So it seems like probably more passing situations, you kind of lean to more of the cornerback style of the bodies there. So it sounds like you'll have multiple players at the cheetah position, depending on, what packages you play. You may have more couple, linebacker types that can still play in coverage and are a little bit athletic, but then also you're going to have a corner for when it seems like an obvious passing down, probably.
Yeah. If they do, like I said last night, if they do that 3-3-5, you're going to have some big bodies along that defensive front because, you're going to have to create a push somewhere. But I like that cheetah position, being able to, have that hybrid role, being able to drop back in coverage or, add an extra lineman down there to provide some rush.
Yeah, I agree. And he's got some pictures here from the Oklahoma defense highlighting kind of where the cheetah lines up. And you can kind of see the different variations in the two pictures. On one of them, he's lined up, back in kind of more in the secondary, in between the safety and the corner, like you would assume a slot corner to be. And then in another one, he's lined up right in line with the linebackers and up near them and pretty much in the box, almost like a third linebacker, almost giving the defense like a 4-3 type look. So it seems like you'll move that cheetah position around depending on what alignment the offense gives you, what personnel they give you as well. As far as the other personnel in the scheme, he says it's pretty much straightforward. You're going to have two high safeties, one free who typically plays further away from the line, and a strong safety who moves around a bit more. The free, he often likes a bit smaller guy that's better in coverage and will play in deep zones more often. And then just two outside cornerbacks, of course, traditionally. And then you're going to have your Mike, which will be your middle linebacker that'll play between the cheetah and the other linebacker. The Mike linebacker will always be in the box and considered an on-ball linebacker who often makes first contact on run plays. And that's where you get, the high number of tackles. The Danny Stutzman, who was the Conference All-American, played that Mike linebacker position and played mainly in the box this season. Then we have the other linebacker, of course, is going to be your Sam linebacker, your strong side. Typically plays on the short side of the field, the opposite side of the cheetah. Generally a bit smaller linebacker here that you need to help you some in coverage, more so than your Mike linebacker. Pre-snap position dictated by the hash marks more than where the offensive personnel is in this scheme here. By Zac Alley. And then your 4 down lineman, if he uses 4 here at WVU, which we said he may use 3 at times, may use 4, but if he does use 4, it'll consist of 2 interior tackles, one being a nose that is a 1 technique, meaning he lines up close to the center, and then the second tackle is going to be on the outside shoulder of a guard, or known as the 3 technique, and then you'll have 2 edge rushers who sometimes may be down in a 3-point stance, sometimes may be standing up there on the ends as far as the personnel there in Zac Alley's scheme. So I wanted to highlight that a little bit. And if you want to get into the nitty gritty and know a lot about it, the coverages he likes to use, all that good stuff, really head over to 247 and check out that whole breakdown from Andrew Corbett. He did a really good job. I wanted to highlight because I knew some people would have some questions about the style of defense he runs. So there's some of the positions, some of the ways that they play it, but definitely reading through that today got me even more excited about Zac Alley, to be honest with you, Stephen.
Yeah, no doubt, because it seems like a lot of the players on this defense are going to more or less be in hybrid positions. You're going to have to be able to play multiple positions if you're going to be able to play on this defense in any capacity. So that's exciting. That creates a very confusing defense for an offense, and that's what you want, especially if you want to create takeaways, like I'm sure that they're going to want to do. That's been Zac Alley's, kind of credo to his defense, if you will.
Right? Yeah.
Take away the ball, get it in your offense's hands.
Absolutely. James Weekly asked if Huddy or Traylon Ray is signed anywhere. No, haven't yet. Currently, they remain uncommitted, as we saw there on the transfer portal tracker. Appreciate you always, James. Any other questions y'all guys got? Throw them in here. We'll try and pick out some here at the tail end before we wrap up before too much longer. And I see we have a new channel member here. Shout out to Chuck Salmons. Appreciate that, Chuck. That's awesome, man. Channel members here are the catalysts that keep it going. You guys help keep the mics recording and the cameras rolling is what I always like to say. And now you've got a ton of access to bonus content here on the channel, as well as you get that WVU football beside your helmet beside your name. You get some custom emojis to use in chat, but you also get, of course, film reviews. You get the game rewatch commentaries, the player grades videos, the snap counts, the depth chart projections each week when we get into the regular season. So it's going to be a lot of fun, not only through the off season, but really once we get to the regular season and I share the injury reports, the snap counts, the grades, and the depth charts. I think you're really going to love it. And I appreciate that support a lot, Chuck, man, and hope you enjoy the content you get in return. If you guys would like to be like Chuck, just hit that join button down below, and we really appreciate that support. It helps us a ton here monthly. But if you can't do it that way, the fast, easy, and free way, just hit that thumbs up button and be sure to subscribe here. But before we get into diving in on the chat here, before we wrap up, Steven, you got any final thoughts, anything you want to talk about here at the tail end?
No, man, like I said, it's just been exciting the last few days. We got basketball coming up on Tuesday. Get to play Kansas out in Lawrence. Once again, I'm going to say for the third day in a row, what a travesty it is that we're playing that game on ESPN Plus and not a regularly televised basketball game. But yeah, well, hopefully West Virginia can go out there. Hopefully Tucker DeVries can get back. But another thing, Coach's Caravan tickets. I know I told Jordan the other day, but if any of you guys haven't gotten those yet or are interested, I know there's only like 6 stops on that tour. So those tickets are on sale now. So if you haven't already, go get your tickets and go meet Coach Rod.
Yeah,
Go see him again in my case.
I'm planning on doing that.
I also found out, I don't know if you know this, but I also found out this morning, and I never had known this before, Rita Rodriguez, Rich's wife, is from Matoka, which is just right down the road.
Is she really?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Wow.
So that's an interesting.
I never knew that till right now.
I never
blew my mind, man. That's crazy.
So I plan on talking to Miss Rita whenever we're there and asking her about that. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, my brother and sister-in-law live in Lashmead, so that's funny. Or they live in Lock, so they're right down there. So
her maiden name is Mills, I found out. So if you know anybody with the last name Mills, they're likely kin to her. Could be. Yeah. I know that's kind of a common name. So
that's interesting. I didn't know that. It's funny. Small world.
Very small world, especially like we talked about earlier about how how much comes out of this area. People, if you've been to this area, there's not a whole lot, but so it's kind of crazy to believe how much has came out of here.
True.
I love it.
True. It's a good point. You never know. Trey Edwards asked any word on Cam Vaughn. Surprised he hasn't committed anywhere. Still got my fingers crossed, but the later it gets, the more worried I get he's going to commit elsewhere. But the latest update I've seen on him was from the NCAA transfer portal themselves there that Rivals runs, and that's that he's going to be visiting Tulane on January 2nd. So once the dead period's over, he's going to go on some other visits and then make a decision. But hopefully West Virginia's still in play and maybe can land him, fingers crossed for that. 800 yards and 5 TDs as a freshman is really impressive. And multiple years, like I said, he's high on my list of targets. He was up there. Hoss Haney's off the list, so he may be up there at number 1 now. But we'll find out in hopefully about a week or so the fate of Cam Vaughn. But visiting Tulane on January 2nd is the kind of latest update there.
Yeah, one that you hopefully will get, especially if you're losing somebody like Hudson Clement to the portal. You kind of want to get some guys in there that can create some plays. And that window's, like you said, closing in 2 days, so it's not like we got a lot of room for error here.
True. Mark Aldridge says, let's go Mountaineers. Appreciate you, channel member there, Mark Aldridge. Josh says, if Rich Rod can take a D2 running back well over 1,000 yards, then it doesn't matter what school a young man comes from. Rich Rod knows talent offensively, especially. Could not agree more. Guys, the running back that Rich Rod had at Jack State this year, he found at a place called Limestone University. Don't act like you know what that is, because I know you don't, because I don't either.
Or you haven't heard of Limestone?
Limestone, brother.
Jordan,
sounds like
what a casual.
Sounds like something I'd be talking about in a science class, not a college.
I'm ashamed. Jordan doesn't know ball.
Chemistry. Sounds like it'd be in a chemistry set. But yeah, he took a running back from Limestone University, brought him to Jack State. What did he do this year? He was the number 3 in the nation in rushing yards, over 1,600 rushing yards and 23 touchdowns. Rich Rod's always been able to find players, from anywhere, and I think he's going to do that again. So, don't throw your nose up at players we're getting just because they're not from maybe a big name school, because Rich Rod can find talent.
Yeah, it's been the best, I think, quality of his all time was evaluating talent. I mean, that was to my knowledge, is what I remember all the commentators talking about every single game that we played back in the day, was how this kid, Pat White didn't get however many offers, and he went to these many places, and they only wanted him to be a wide receiver, and Rich Rodriguez was the only one to let him be a quarterback, and that's why he came to West Virginia. You know what I mean? Or Owen Schmidt didn't get looked at and didn't get any offers, and he was the only one to give him a chance and play at WVU. I mean, you can name a bunch of stories that were like that for Rich Rod. That's not new. He's always been a great evaluator of talent.
Oh yeah, always.
Love it.
WVU Fan 23 says, glad to see Landon Livingston staying at WVU and hopefully going to be our incumbent center. And yeah, that reminded me, I want to pull this up as well. I meant to pull it up earlier and didn't, but appreciate you for reminding me there, WVU Fan. But Landon Livingston put this out today, so pretty much all but confirming he's not going anywhere home, and multiple pictures of him here at WVU. So we will have Landon Livingston back on the offensive line.
which is the most integral piece you want on your offensive line.
That center is big. Yeah. Center and that left tackle. Arguable between which one's more important, but those are
even more so. Sorry, I don't mean to keep cutting you off.
No, you're good, bro.
But even more so because Altuner, announced his departure from the program. So,
who I was really excited about, and that hurts. But I guess right tackle might be important with it being Nico. That's kind of our blind side now, maybe.
Yeah, no doubt. I didn't think about it like that.
Should be Xavier Bosley from Jack State, so should be well set there.
Yep. A lot of news, man. A lot of news going to get ready and come out in the next 48 hours, I would imagine, dealing in that realm of things.
Yeah, you guys get used to seeing us. You'll be seeing plenty of us, so we'll be back again tomorrow, I'm sure. Tomorrow evening. I think I close at work, so it'll be around this time, probably about 10:30 or so tomorrow evening again. But we'll be back again. We'll be back.
We'll be back as long as there's stuff to talk about, which it seems there's going to be plenty to talk about all the way through up till next season, which
it's great for us.
It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one.
Great
plenty to look forward to up until then, too.
Agreed.
I think the basketball team is going to give us plenty to root for. Baseball team hopefully gives us something to root for a lot again this year with Steve Saban's taking over there. And then right back into spring ball with the football team, man. So always busy.
Yep. That's right. Good times. Good time to be a Mountaineer fan. Our guy, Burdetta Millie, man, appreciate you yet again.
Always,
he's
man.
telling
Always.
you guys here. He's sending the $5 super chat just to let you guys know, like the stream. Yeah, you guys. I mean, we got we've had over 200 people in here throughout the live stream tonight. Be sure just take a second, hit the X button on the live chat, go over, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're watching this after the fact on a replay, you don't even have to exit out of a live chat. You just take your mouse, or if you're on your phone, take your thumb on your screen and just hit that little thumbs up button. Helps a ton. It'll find more Mountaineer Nation. If you just do that one little thing for us, fast, easy, and free to do, helps us, helps you too. Look at me. I'm a poet and didn't know it.
Hey, man. I love, if you've been following the stream for a long time, Cruz here, he's a man of many different talents. He's a chef. He's a journalist.
You never know what I might do.
He's a lot of different things.
But appreciate you always, Burdett and Millie. Appreciate the $5 super chat. He says, let's go hold the rope and spot the ball. And that's right. And you're the man, Burdett and Millie.
As always.
As always, man. As always. Let's see. Timothy Hetrick Jr. Says, I would like to see this get the quarterback from Martinsburg, Coy Fagan, who was a stud this year. Yeah, he put up some really good numbers. I want to see if I can pull up his Twitter where he shared some of those. I don't think West Virginia's offered him a scholarship yet. They may be hoping to get him as a preferred walk-on. I did see he had a scholarship offer today from, I think, West Virginia State or somewhere, but I would love to see us get him, man, for sure. I'm pulling up his social media here where he shared his numbers. Of course, Martinsburg State.
With Preston, Hudson Clement's brother that was a quarterback there last year.
He's still on the West Virginia roster thus far, I believe. He hasn't transferred out despite Hudson leaving, so hopefully he's still sticking around. He's listed as a running back on the roster. He was a walk-on just like Hudson, so hopefully he sticks around. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Coy Fagan, Martinsburg, here's some of his senior numbers. 14-0 Martinsburg, of course, dominated, wins the state title again. He threw for 2,200 yards, 63% completion, 33 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, and then ran for nearly 2,000 yards as well. Another 28 touchdowns. So what is that? 51 combined touchdowns.
Yeah.
Nearly 2,000 rushing yards to go with over 2,000 passing yards, or 61 combined touchdowns, excuse me. And then, so that's 4161 total yards here this season. Big year. Jeez. And I think that he certainly could, show those type of numbers look like someone that could play at this level. So I don't know if West Virginia is hoping to get him as a PWO, if they're going to end up offering him. We'll see. He did get an offer today from West Virginia State University. So we'll see if West Virginia tries to bring him in, though.
Yeah. He'd definitely be an asset, it sounds like. That just proves to my point that West Virginia high school football has grown in talent.
Yeah. And then we've got Martinsburg guys on the roster already. So, I mean, I know Hudson left, but like we talked about his brother, we brought Bowie in, we're bringing Barrick in. So, there's a chance. There is a chance.
There's always a chance. Like I said, the window's still open. Of course, I mean, for guys like that doesn't close in the next 2 days. It's just a transfer portal.
Yeah. That's what I said. It's only, it's only, I was going to say, only the portal, and I think when it closes, but also the people in the bowl games, it's open for another few days.
Right.
Our guys is open to what we said, the 31st. but you can always still recruit it. It's just people can't enter after that. So we'll still be in there working. Like I said, we got the visits coming up, and we'll be trying to get guys to commit over the next couple of weeks. And I'm sure hopefully as we get them, we'll be talking about them here for sure. And hopefully there's plenty of those coming in.
Yep. Hopefully so, man. Hopefully so. I'm starting to get nervous on a few guys, but that guy, the Carter from Oklahoma, the linebacker, he got me some excitement today.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I'd love to see one of those guys come over from Oklahoma. That could be one.
Yep. Hopefully tomorrow.
Tim Green, channel member, says, let's go Mountaineers. Good to see you in here, Tim. Appreciate you as always, man. Buck Robinette, let's go Mountaineers. Great hire. Appreciate you guys. See what else we got here. Trying to catch up, point out some of these comments here. I'm a little bit behind in the chat, so apologies, guys. But maybe you can't have the other questions here sticking out. I do not. Blake Green says, look at Jaheim's comment on that post. Yeah, didn't get a chance to pull that up, but on the Landon Livingston post, Jaheim replied, my offensive line or something like that. So just further combination that my guy's not going anywhere, which gets me super excited. You know, here's my favorite player now, getting the chance to see him in a Rich Rod scheme. I'm literally salivating over here.
I know he's your favorite player, but I think him and Nico, for me, not hearing anything from either of those yet is all signs pointing to them staying home. And I couldn't be more excited. Now, obviously, I know a lot of people are excited about Khalil Wilkins and, potential other potential guys we could get from the portal. Excuse me. But Nico, to me, I think is going to flourish in Rich Rod's system. I know he's not the fastest runner, but he's what I call a big runner. He's a really the best runner I think I can compare him to is Josh Allen. He's not fast, but he can bulldoze guys so he can get yardage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's got great field vision.
Yeah.
And he's got a rocket of an arm.
I could see that. I could see that comparison. And, I'm a fan as well. I'm going to have to get me.
And he's left-handed.
And left-handed.
Rich loves his left-handed quarterbacks.
And he can, I think, and if you go watch, I don't know if you guys have watched a lot of it, go watch some of the Jacksonville State film from last year, which we're going to be doing on the channel for you guys that are channel members here. I want to remind you guys, now we know Zac Alley's defensive coordinator, what we'll be going back over not only Jacksonville State last year to watch some of their offensive highlights, but going back to Jacksonville State 2023, because then we can watch their full games, because the D coordinator then was Zac Alley, so we can get a good look at our potential offense and defense. But nonetheless, if you guys went back and watched Jack State, the quarterback Tyler Huff that they had this year, that I mentioned, that ran for over 1,300 yards and over 15 touchdowns. His running style is actually kind of similar to Nico. He's not terribly fast, but he's a physical runner and a willing runner, and he, like I said, ran for over 1,000 yards. So I think Nico can be really good in this Rich Rod offense, and I'm excited about it. I got a couple Jaheim jerseys. I'm going to have to get me a Nico jersey or two. Got to do it.
I already planned on getting me a Nico jersey. I've been a Nico guy since watching him in those high school days out at Arizona. I knew he was going to be a dog.
Yeah.
But I think if anything else proves that he's more of a dog, is Nico went undefeated as a starter in Neil Brown's system. So it excites me of what he could be able to do in a Rich Rod system, up tempo, and he can, because that's what he played at Arizona when he was in high school.
Better. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm truly excited to see what the potential is with that offense with him at quarterback.
That's funny. Right on cue. Everything WVU football podcast says the same thing. Reminds me of the dude Rich out of Jack State. Yeah, the running style is kind of similar to him and Tyler Huff at Jack State. Which you guys be sure to check out Everything WVU football podcast. I got Cody there. He's just getting it started. I'll talk to him on social media some, but doing a good job there already, and I think it's going to be fun. I watched your video you put out the other day, man. So keep it up, man, and everyone go check out Everything WVU football podcast as well. We got Burdetta Millie, man. What the super chat wasn't enough. He's coming a channel member here. Appreciate you,
awesome,
Burdetta Millie, man. You got all kinds of bonus content. I see you already utilizing the emojis in the chat. You got the helmet beside your name,
yes,
and that's appreciate the support there, Burdetta Millie. Can't thank you enough, and you'll have a ton of Mountaineer football bonus content coming your way. Appreciate everyone being here. I see Mountaineer Larry with Kenny in here. Says home run higher. His first pick was Zac Alley. Same here for sure. Agree with that, and super excited to talk about it. Super excited it was official, which that's what we've talked about throughout the stream. Here tonight is, of course, the hire becoming official, sharing the press release. And in case you missed it, Zac Alley's official titles: assistant head coach / defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. And then we did a bit of a transfer portal update, which I'll go ahead and pull up the list of the upcoming visitors that I want to throw up here one more time in case people jumped in here late for you guys that are jumping in late on the live. But if you're watching live on a playback, either one, we appreciate it. But as I pull that up, Steven, any final thoughts you got before we get ready to wrap this one up?
Hey, man, I'm just holding the rope, spotting the ball. Go Ears.
Right, that's right. Well said. But in case some of you guys came in late and didn't get to see, the other thing that we talked about was the upcoming visitors that are going to be coming in once the dead period opens up here the first week of January, second week of January. Going to get these group, a couple handfuls of guys in. Kicker Ethan Head, safety Jordan Walker, linebacker Marcus Watson Trent, defensive lineman Adam Tomczyk, wide receiver Matt Henry, linebacker James Joncom, defensive lineman William Whitlow, defensive lineman CJ Doggett, and running back Draylon Washington. And there will probably be more names added, and as they are, we'll come back and cover them again here in further updates on the CRW, as we'll cover transfer portal updates, coaching staff updates, all kinds of fun stuff to talk about throughout this offseason. But that'll do it for tonight, guys. Appreciate everyone that came in here live. Like I said, whether you watch live or if you're watching the replay, be sure hit that thumbs up button before you head out and subscribe to the channel. Dom Collins does have Mario Alford wheels, huge wheels. Had to throw that up there by Josh. You guys know
agree,
where
but I would say Tavon.
we're from.
I agree with I would say Tavon. I think he's gonna be better than Tavon. I love Tavon to death. I'm sorry if that makes people mad, but I see potential in the kid.
Right there, Trey Edwards agrees.
Hey.
There we go.
Guys, kid's fast.
Yeah, Hoss was going to come on a visit, but he went ahead and signed with Oklahoma State. That's the other, that's the one negative transfer portal update we had. Unfortunately, Kenny, is he's going to Oklahoma State. But yeah, Dom Collins hype train. We're, kind of the conductors of it here at the CRW. We like to think for sure, because we think that guy is going to be really special, and hopefully you guys get to see it in this Rich Rod scheme. Him, along with all the other players that we have returning, and a lot of these others that we're going to bring in, and can't wait to talk about them. But we'll be back to chat with you guys most likely again tomorrow. Like we said, look out for the next 24 to 48 hours, other coach hires to become official, like Zac Alley's did today. And glad we got to talk about that, and look forward to chatting with you guys about the next ones that come out here in the near future. And we'll be back most likely tomorrow and see you guys again. For my co-host Steven, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz. And until next time, let's go Mountaineers.